Welcome back. This one is a little bit more complex than the other ones we've been looking at. So let's get right into it. We're trying to decide whether or not we should replace existing equipment. Now you can imagine if you're using current equipment and the equipment may be starting to get a little bit old, you would have things like repair costs and such that you need to consider. So you might try to decide whether or not it's worth it to continue to repair existing equipment or just go out and buy a whole new piece of equipment. So let's go through this. A business is considering the disposal of several identical machines having a total book value of 100,000 and an estimated remaining life of 5 years. Okay. So, and the old machines we can sell them for 25,000. What we can do though instead is we can replace them with one single high-speed machine at a cost of $250,000. The new machine has an estimated life of 5 years and no residual value. Okay, so alright, so we've got a piece of equipment that's $100,000 right now, and we could sell them for 25, or we could buy a whole new piece of equipment for 250,000. So looking at this, I know there's a lot of information that's going on here. This information is given to you. The variable cost of the equipment, the present equipment is $225,000, and the variable cost of the new equipment would be $150,000. Okay, this information is being given to you, basically. Okay, so what you're saying here is to maintain the new equipment per year, you're looking at about $225,000 in variable costs, whereas the new equipment would cost much less at about $150,000. Okay, this is per year. So if the old equipment would cost $75,000 more in costs, and that's over a period of 5 years. So if we're talking about spending an extra $75,000 in order to maintain this equipment and such with these variable costs, and we're doing that for 5 years, then the total decrease in cost is $375,000. So buying the new equipment is going to cost you over the next 5 years $375,000 less in variable costs. Okay? So, if we were to sell the old equipment, the proceeds from the sale of the current equipment, remember we had the option of selling it for $25,000, then the total proceeds from the sale of selling selling the present equipment is $400,000. Right? So you're going to be spending $375,000 less in cost. You're going to have $375,000 less in costs, and you're going to get $25,000. So in total, you're looking at a $400,000, almost a gain from selling the current equipment. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to come up with these costs, and now you say, okay, well, what is the cost of buying new equipment? The cost of buying new equipment is $250,000. Okay, so with that, it is a decrease in cost over the next 5 years of $150,000. You make out better by selling the old equipment and buying new equipment. And if you wanted to look at that as an annual amount, because we are talking about a period of 5 years here, you're going to say that it's $150,000 divided by 5 years would be $30,000. Something that we haven't talked about but does need to be considered in each one of these scenarios is the idea of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the loss of access to your cash, basically. So if you're thinking about it and you're looking at buying this piece of equipment, if we just step back to this one for a second, the idea is that we're going to put $250,000 out in cash today to buy new equipment because that was a better alternative. But the question is does it make sense to lay out $250,000 in cash today? What else could I be doing with that money? Perhaps I could be investing it or using it in some other fashion in order to earn me money in some other way. So what that's considered is the opportunity cost. If I laid out $250,000 today, maybe I couldn't buy that new factory that I wanted to because I've spent all of my cash already. So the idea of spending your cash in one place or another is considered opportunity cost. Alright, there's one more we're going to go through. If you noticed, if you looked at the book, what we're doing is we're skipping one on processing of gasoline. It's a little involved, and I don't think it's really necessary unless you plan on working in a field in which you process such items. So if that happens and you want to talk to me about processing gasoline and such, feel free to come back to me at that time. But until then, we're going to skip past that section, and you won't see it for homework or for a test either, of course. Alright, but we are going to look at one final differential cost analysis, which is accepting business at a special price. So let's say, well, let's jump right into this. The monthly capacity of a sporting goods business is 12,500 basketballs. Okay, so we have the ability to make 12,500 basketballs. Right now, we're only selling and making about 10,000 basketballs every month. So the idea here is that if an offer comes along to make more basketballs up to another 2,500 more, we can do that because we have the capacity to make 12,500. Now, if somebody wanted us to make 15,000 basketballs, well, that's not going to work for us because maybe we'd have to expand current operations, buy a new facility, or something along those lines. So the reason they're telling you the capacity is so that you know that you could be making 12,500 and you're operating at less than that capacity. Okay, so continuing on from there. The manufacturing cost for a basketball is $20 each, which has a variable component of $12.50 and a fixed component of $7.50. And we normally sell them for $30 a piece. Okay. Oops, too far. Somebody comes to us and they say, hey, you know what, now I went too far the other way. Somebody came to us and said, hey, you know what, can I buy another 5,000 additional basketballs from you at $18 a piece? Actually, you know, it's interesting. It's $5,000 more, and they're telling us that we could only make 12,500 in total. So actually, this is quite interesting because this goes beyond the capacity. Okay, let's pretend it stays within capacity because this is actually wrong the way this slide is written. But anyway, getting back to the idea here, somebody's asking us if we can make an additional 5,000 basketballs, but only for $18 a piece. Would we be willing to sell it to them for $18 a piece? And we say, well, why do we do that? We normally sell it for $30 a piece. Well, the idea here is let's look at the revenue from making those additional 5,000 basketballs versus the cost of those 5,000 basketballs. Remember, again, that we're not going to consider fixed costs in this scenario because fixed costs are going to be there regardless of whether or not we accept this offer of making 5,000 more basketballs. So here we go. The revenue from the sale, if we were to do this, accept this offer, 5,000 basketballs, $18 a piece, is $90,000. The cost to us of making those additional basketballs, again, only the variable cost, at $12.50 a piece, is $62,500. So with that, if we'd made these extra basketballs, we're actually going to make an additional $27,500. So with that, it makes sense to accept the offer. And that's the end of this chapter.